by right-wing discourse about gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender persons, which are about taking the prophetic tradition and shifting it to the right. And so I think I want to hold all of that in the conversation about sin.
I don't know that I got a definition. I think it goes beyond the gay, lesbian conversation. It's our Muslim brothers and sisters. It embraces a spectrum of other, as have been called other. So I still push for, however, how would I, as a preacher, in context of a black church, possibly a pastor in context of a black church, answer the question? And then if I push it to say, well, we don't always, quote unquote, I'll support the narrative of the Bible, then the question becomes, what am I preaching on Sunday morning? So there's a bigger push and a bigger twist that I'm wrestling with.
Dr. Smith. I would like to take the prerogative of the moderator of the panel and say that this is a dialogue that could continue for many days. Could we allow people who have other questions to raise them now, since time is...
Dr. Miles wants to respond.
Yes.
I think that there are three radical paradigms within the Christian faith that enables us to embrace all humanity. Love, justice, and reconciliation. I don't think that there is anything more radical, more transforming, or more revolutionary than these. And because it takes a prophetic ministry to embrace them, we often look for ways of avoiding them, including organizing armies and navies and air forces and invasion forces and building houses of worship to shield people from the challenge of engaging in such. And you can get killed doing it.
Say it.
Therefore, I think we have to constantly, from generation to generation, challenge ourselves under the scrutiny of God through the love of Jesus Christ, seek to embrace redeeming love. And once we do that, tattoos and beads and other things cease to intimidate us, because these are our children, our brothers and sisters, and children of God. Justice separated from love is naked brutality. And when we combine the two, grace, as Bishop McKenzie pointed out, grace becomes the operative paradigm. But it takes a lot of energy and courage to embrace these. Part of our political problem is we have one party with no conscience.
Yes, sir.
And another party without enough courage. So, with a conscience-less Republican and a courage-less Democrat, now I'm not talking about all the Democrats, some of them are up here now, with courage. But if there is no courage and no conscience, any behavior becomes all right. It is the role of the church to introduce into society courage and conscience. And when this happens, revolutions take place with us and with those we are called to serve. I'll stop there.
Yes, thank you. Our time is out, but out of deep respect for the voluminous written contribution of rich scholarship that has been made by one of our outstanding womanist scholars who's present in the House, and because I've learned so much from her writings, especially her writings on theodicy, I'm going to get in trouble with those who told me to stop at a certain time and honor the question of the Reverend Dr. Kirk Dugan, my sister.
Thank you so much. I want to ask, I think it's a larger question around embodiment, because too often cleavage is exposed not just by 18 and 12-year-olds. Sometimes the derriere gets exposed for those who are in 50s and 60s, clothes that may be too tight in given situations, given that my husband got a tattoo at age 72 and not 12 or 22. How is it that we help folk understand, appreciate, embrace their bodies, sensuality as a part of the worship event, and sexuality as part of the worship event in a way that we all can do what Dr. Moss said in terms of justice and love?
Thank you. That's a great question. I think we have, I think it's going to be a long process because these ideologies of respectability are so ingrained in our consciousness. And it's learned in society, but I think we have to start there with the ideologies that are so ingrained in our imaginations and our consciousness. I just see it all the time. It's just a practice. We have to continually practice it. But if we can't get beyond the new ways of dressing and the new ways of presenting the body in the world, we're missing out on these really rich cultural jewels in society. But I think the work is ideological.
Can I lift something?
Go ahead.
When I served in Africa, we think the embodiment, what you talk about, is new. It is not new. And our ancestors practice embodiment, and they still do today. My husband and I were privileged to be with the King of Swaziland for a special occasion. And all of the diplomats from all of the countries, everybody was all lined up sitting in the stadium. And every year the virgins are presented to society. It's their debutante ball. The virgins are presented. And when they come in, they follow the mothers who are fully clothed. But when the virgins come in, they're naked from the waist up. And so, thousands of virgins now coming into the arena, and they're dancing and they're celebrating. And all of the diplomats take out cameras, clicky, 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 clicky. And, then I'm saying, why all of a sudden you taking pictures now? You weren't taking pictures earlier. And so I was sitting next to the Secretary of Health, who was a woman. And she said to me, "You people have a problem with your bodies. We do not have a problem with our bodies. We celebrate our bodies. We embrace them." And that is so true. That is so true.
Yeah, that's excellent. So I think that also beyond the work being ideological, I think what we can also do in our own work itself is sometimes we get caught between these analyses of resistance, oppression, everything kind of being misogynistic or not misogynistic. I think we have to begin also to embrace a politics of pleasure and desire. Not everything is caught between those bifurcations of oppression or oppressed or resistance and liberation and these kinds of things. We have to embrace a politics of pleasure and desire, I think, as well.
And I think also the question is bound, causes us to, at some level, see forms of black respectability as a heterosexual deployment of down low culture. Because there's, within the framework of being buttoned up and looking nice and churchly, under that, there's discourses about pleasure and sexuality and the eroticism of the worship experience. That's all under there. That's under the play. We don't talk about it, but it's there. And so, mother may not be tatted and have her thong showing, right? But there is a politics and a discourse of pleasure and eroticism that happens in the women's meeting. And we need to be honest and honor that, right? You know, so sometimes I walk at my women's group in church, be meeting, and I walk in and they be giggling and they stop. I say, y'all talking about something I don't want to know about, I'm leaving. Right, so so I think that part of it is not just simply about pointing with those bad young people and they little nasty selves and all them tattoos, something they going to hell. It's also about within women's spaces, right, having those kind of conversations and then being able to honor them in the framework of the congregational life. And to say that we have bodies, we're sexual creatures, and we are participating in the life of the church. And so I think one of the challenges, at the risk of repeating myself, of around black respectability is this kind of heterosexual deployment of a down low culture where people are not having real conversations about sex and sexuality at work in the heterosexual relationships in the context of the church.
Could we just stand a moment, please? And let's show our appreciation to the panel. And then let us show appreciation to ourselves. The panel served as Socratic gadflies, but all of you who participated served as persons who were not afraid to do critical thinking. So let's celebrate that. You may be seated, and at this time, like John the Baptist, I must decrease.
What a wonderful dialogical experience we've had this morning. Let us thank J. Alfred Smith for a marvelous job of keeping the conversation fluid and moving with such rich, rich content. Our logistical planners and coordinators and colleagues that have brought this experience together, they are so precise with scheduling our experience to move us and keep us from being too late and overlapping that I think now is lunchtime, and we're moving to that experience so that we can get to our workshops, so that we can eat and love the flesh even better.
Look out.
So that we can embrace some alertness and hopefully let the calories energize and give us new energy and work them off later this afternoon. But I just want to say, in concert with Martha Simmons, who's sitting back, and myself, we are just delighted with what we are experiencing this week, and for the creation team that is present, members of the creation team for the African American Lectionary, members who are here, some of them were here yesterday, but I want you to see them. Will you stand members of the creation team for the African American Lectionary, Brad Braxton, others over here, Brother Nolan, Sister Bernice. These are the persons, Stacy Floyd Thomas, these are the persons who have contributed to the online lectionary resource as a rich theological resource. We now can be dismissed to lunch, and we will see you in the workshop.